Hey guys, welcome to episode 26 of A Cup of Positivity. This week on the podcast, I've got Chelsea Ward, a nutrition coach who specialises in hormones, cortisol levels and adrenal health. Essentially, Chelsea helps mostly women deal with stress, anxiety and hormone imbalance by changing their nutrition habits and general mindset around food. This episode is full of information on whole foods, healthy fats and vitamins that support your hormonal health. We also talk about Chelsea's recipe books, which have the most delicious recipes, so definitely have a listen and then check those out. As always, I hope you enjoy the episode and please do like, share and comment if so. Thanks so much for listening and see you soon. Hi Chelsea, welcome to A Cup of Positivity. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good. First things first is, do you have your cup of tea with you?
Yes, I've got my cup of tea here, but it's actually hot water with lemon and ginger, so it's not tea because I don't have caffeine after like midday.
Yeah. I like your Minnie Mouse mug though. That's cute.
So this mug is a super old mug I had at my parents' house.
Yeah.
And it's the mug that I used to drink when I got my first ever corporate job and I was commuting up to London every day and I was getting up at the crack of dawn. And it's the mug that I used to drink my coffee out of every morning. And so I kind of don't like to throw it away because of sentimental reasons. Yeah. Like, we have so many other nicer mugs, but I'm like, no, this is my
that one's really cute.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like how different my life is now and like how far I've come.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I like that message. I'm drinking twist teas that I was gifted in strawberry and rose flavour. I've had this before and I just really like it. Yeah. I've never really been a fan of rose, but I'm feeling it now.
Oh, I love rose. Rose and like lavender. If you put lavender in anything, I'll eat it, I'll drink it, I'll put it in my bath. But
I always just think it's a bit weird to like drink or eat anything that tastes like flowery.
Oh, I'm a like super florally person.
Are you?
Yeah. I love like anything like flowery tasting or you go to like posh restaurants and get edible flowers.
Yeah,
like, I'm really here for that. Like.
No, but it kind of reminds me of like potpourri.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. No, I do know what you mean.
But I feel like I'm slowly turning as I have these herbal teas. So. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know you, do you want to just do a quick intro and then we'll go from there?
Sure. So I am a nutrition coach. I specialise in hormones and kind of my main thing is healing people's overactive stress response and also so that therefore healing their anxiety, like low mood, moodiness, irritability, stress. I think when people think of like a hormone coach or a hormone specialist, they kind of immediately go, oh, estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, which are our sex hormones, when actually hormones are such a huge part of everything we do and so widespread. They basically tell our body everything that it needs to do. So I really focus on cortisol, which is your stress hormone.
Okay.
And then adrenal health, which is basically your adrenal glands are in charge of your stress response and producing your stress hormones, but they are also they do also play a role in your sex hormone production as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I basically help women who, like myself, I used to have the most chronic mood swings and really bad anxiety. Really? And I used to have like these really like horrible energy crashes. I was always exhausted, just felt like overwhelmed and burnt out. And so now I help women fix that, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you is like, what exactly is a hormone specialist? Like, what does that entail? And how do you find out like if people have imbalances or anything like that?
Sure. So what I will do with my clients is I will initially do like a really in-depth health assessment with them where they'll fill out kind of a massive form. And then part of that, they'll fill out a massive symptom tracker that has like over 200 symptoms on it.
Wow.
And then from that tracker, I can kind of tell, okay, I think maybe you've got adrenal hyperfunction or you've got insulin resistance or there's something going on there. And then from that point onwards, we'll look at getting some at-home testing done. So maybe a saliva test or a blood test, and that will give you your labs back and that will actually tell you, okay, no, you are producing far too much cortisol or you have got insulin resistance or maybe you're estrogen dominant, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So the three that you just said, like how do they affect people? Like what are they?
Oh, sure. So adrenal hyperfunction is just when you make too much cortisol. It's actually crazy how many people suffer from this problem because we just lead these really high stress lives and our bodies aren't designed for it. Obviously, back in caveman days, they would experience these really intense peaks of stress because they'd have like a predator to run away from or some prey to catch or something like that. And then your body would reduce it straight away once you ran away from that predator or once you caught your dinner. Whereas now we lead these lives that are super fast paced and we're kind of always stressed and we're always in this high level of stress. And effectively, because our brains learn from repetition, they get into the habit of basically making more and more cortisol, telling your body to make more and more cortisol. And then your cortisol levels in your body are elevated and your adrenal glands are just making tons of cortisol. The other issue you have with that is that if you make too much cortisol, then your body will prioritize that over making any other hormone. So over your sex hormones, so over progesterone and that kind of stuff as well. And then the other thing I mentioned was estrogen dominance. That is effectively where you just either have too much estrogen or too little progesterone. So your female sex hormones are like a seesaw. And so you've got estrogen on one side and progesterone on the other side. And then during your monthly cycle, they'll seesaw depending on what part of the cycle you're in. And they have everything, they regulate your mood, they regulate your weight gain, they regulate basically how you feel. And the thing is, if you have too much of one and too little of the other, you then have all these symptoms that can be like headaches, anxiety, fatigue, brain fog is a huge one, PMS. I spent years thinking PMS was just like a normal thing. Yeah. And like it was just normal just to get super, super crabby before you have your period and be really moody and then have these really horrible periods where you've got really bad like stomach ache. And then I went on my nutrition journey and I was like, oh, okay, no, that's not normal. You shouldn't that's not a thing that you shouldn't have this debilitating thing that happens to you for like 5 days every month. So yeah, those are the two main things that I focus on as well, is looking at how to balance out your estrogen and your progesterone.
Yeah. So are most of your clients women or not?
Yeah,
really?
So mainly work with women. Yeah, so it's mainly women that I work with.
If they didn't have you to like do the questionnaire and everything, like how would you know what if there was anything wrong or what was wrong? You would have to get a health screen, right?
Yes. So my number one thing would be there's a website called Let's Get Checked. And effectively you can do at-home tests. They'll send you a little package and it's saliva tests and they can measure various things. You can do some blood work as well. So yeah, that would be how you would tell. You'd have to get labs and stuff. But normally by the time my clients have come to me, they've done a bit of Googling, they kind of know what's going on they might not know exactly what's going on, but they'll be like, I'm pretty sure I've got this thing. And then when you look at their lifestyle and their health assessment and you look at their kind of pre-existing conditions or the things they've struggled with before, you can go, oh, okay, it all kind of ends up fitting together. And that's how you understand. So yeah, a lot of times clients will come to me who have come off birth control or are trying to come off birth control because they've just found it's made their anxiety really bad. And that's one of the first, someone comes to me with bad anxiety, that's one of the first things I tell them to do is to try and get off birth control if they can effectively.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk to you about birth control because I've recently come off the pill because I feel like I have a hormonal imbalance and I've just been on it for way too long. And I know you recently posted that you came off Mirena, which is the coil, the hormone one. So can you tell us about your experience with that? And then also we'll from that talk about birth control in general.
Sure, yeah. So I had the Mirena coil put in I think it was the beginning of 2016. And my boyfriend and I were actually going to Australia traveling before nice. I had it. So I had it put in and then we went traveling. And I think with it was weird because within about 2 weeks of having it put in, I suffer from anxiety anyway. I got diagnosed with an anxiety disorder 10 years ago. And over the years I can manage it. I know I have bad spells and good spells. I have now with my nutrition, I don't really have properly debilitating anxiety anymore. But then we went to Australia and I felt like I was just constantly panicking. Like I couldn't calm down. There was no relief from it. It was just this constant state of panic. I felt like I was having really intense, like intrusive thoughts, and like I would fixate on something and then it would go like a spiral in my head over and over until this thing became so blown out of proportion. I mean, one of the things I fixated on was whether I loved my boyfriend or not. And, that's relationship OCD is like a really like strong thing that people with anxiety disorders suffer from. But I'd never had anything like that before. I'd had anxiety, but I'd never had like obsessive thoughts and these kind of like really obsessive behaviors. I wasn't sleeping. I would just become hysterical. I mean, thank God my boyfriend's a very patient man. And, he's very understanding. He's super sensible, which is nice because it means that he kind of balances me out a bit. And I would just become like inconsolable because I just was like, I can't live like this. I don't know what's wrong with me. And it never clicked to me that it was my coil. It never, the thing never went off in my head that I was like, oh yeah, maybe I had my coil put in and then this all started.
Yeah.
And it was only, I actually had my coil removed for a completely different reason than the anxiety. So I was having a breast reduction and I was like, right, okay, I'm having my coil removed because I want my body to kind of go back to normal as it can be. And so I don't want any hormones. And then I had, within about a week of having my coil removed, I was like, oh my God, I feel like a million times better. I'd like, it was completely insane.
But how long did you have it in then?
18 months.
Wow.
So I felt like that for 18 months. Just I would wake up, like it was like I would wake up anxious. I'd go to sleep anxious. I couldn't, it wasn't like my life was normal and anxious. My life was just anxious now. And it was just varying levels of anxiety. And basically I would cry pretty much every single day. I would just become inconsolable because I couldn't live. I didn't understand. I couldn't live like this. And a doctor never once said to me, do you think it could be your coil?
Yeah.
And so it was only, and then I started Googling. Once I had my coil removed, I started Googling what was going, like my symptoms. And I was like, oh, there are literally thousands of women who have had this exact same experience. And there are so many studies that link hormonal birth control with anxiety and depression, and it's just not something that we're educated on. It's not something that we're like told by the medical professionals. I mean, and I found all these other women that were suffering from the same thing, and I just couldn't believe it. And it's effectively one of the main things is that hormonal birth control is a synthetic hormone. It's not a real hormone. So it interacts with your body in a completely different way to normal hormones. I almost liken it to like if you had sugar and then you had an artificial sweetener. They taste the same, but they do completely different things to your actual body. And one of the things with a synthetic hormone is it interferes with the signals in your brain, which can cause anxiety and depression. Yeah.
That's crazy because I mean, I was on the pill for a good 10 years and I didn't know any of this stuff.
I know, it is. I mean, the thing is as well with birth control, unfortunately, is that you are suppressing one of your body's natural rhythms and something your body is naturally designed to do. And I have women that come to me who have been on birth control like yourself for like 10 years and they've come off of it and they've lost their periods and they can't get their periods back because they've suppressed this bodily function for so long. It's like their body's kind of forgotten how to do it and doesn't know how to do it effectively. But yeah, so I'm a bit anti-birth control.
Yes, I can see that.
But do you know what? If you go on birth control and it works for you, I mean, I've had people tell me that it's regulated their mood, and I'm like, amazing. If it works for you, that's fantastic. It just did not work for me, and I am very much like, I think you should let your body do whatever it's got to do and function however it's got to function, and don't try and suppress anything that's natural for your body.
Yeah, I think like with me, I tried to come off it once within that time, because I split up with my partner about 5 years ago. And then I just got acne everywhere, like all over my face, my forehead, my back, my chest. And then I just got so scared that I just went back on it.
Yeah, I mean,
even though like I wasn't with a regular partner, I was just still
Yeah.
taking it because I would just thought, oh my
Didn't
God, no,
want
I
the
can't deal with
acne.
that. Yeah.
No, I mean, that is, again, that acne is your body effectively trying to re-regulate itself. And it kind of goes, we don't know what to do, because you're not taking the pill anymore.
Yeah.
And so it goes, right, should we do this? Should we do this? Maybe we'll try this. And then eventually it would get back to normality. And there are really great supplements that you can take that will help with that. Things like stress relieving is really good for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, a lot of women are scared to come off the pill because they're scared of what's going to happen when they come off the pill or come off hormonal birth control.
Mm-hmm. And so are you saying that this is like one of the common reasons people contact you? Is it just one of?
I think it's just one of. I mean, one of the main things is because I do specialise in anxiety and mood swings and irritability. That is my main kind of focus. But then a lot of that through that is my clients I'll speak to, and they'll say, oh, I'm actually on the pill, or, oh, I do this. And then you kind of go, oh, when did your symptoms start? When did you? Yeah. So, and then it's progresses from there.
Yeah. Is there anything then that we should be doing or consuming regularly to ensure that we have like a healthy hormone balance?
Sure. So some really good supplements would be B6, vitamin B6, and magnesium are really, really good supplements for hormonal balance. And then fatty fish like salmon, that's really high in omega-3s.
Okay.
That's also really good. Healthy fats, like I'm all about healthy fats. Love me a healthy fat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, avocados, that kind of stuff are really great for hormonal balance. Again, with animal products, I would, with fish, organic or wild fish, and with animal products, organic, because unfortunately with factory farmed animal products and with farmed fish, they are fed really poor diets, and that diet affects the food that you're eating and the food that you consume, but also they are just pumped full of estrogen, which to fatten them up, and effectively you're eating all that estrogen, which, you know, if you're already struggling with hormonal imbalance, you don't want to then also be going, and I'm going to have a lot of estrogen on top of that.
Yeah.
And just unprocessed whole foods. Like if you can avoid processed, it is impossible to avoid processed foods completely, because you'll never go out to eat ever again if you do that. And you'll never eat ice cream ever again unless you make it from scratch at home. But avoiding processed foods and just trying to eat a whole food diet. And whole food doesn't mean you have to eat spinach and brown rice every day. Whole food is just reading the ingredients in your food. And if you can't pronounce the ingredient, the chances are your body doesn't know what to do with it either.
Okay.
So it can be, I still eat cookies all the time. I just eat cookies that are made from whole ingredients and ingredients that I know that my body can process and that are going to keep my blood sugar balanced.
Yeah.
And then fiber. Fiber is like so key. It's so key for blood sugar balance. It's so key for keeping you satiated. So definitely healthy fats and fiber.
Okay.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. And I know you talk a lot about weight loss on your page as well. Like why do you talk so much about that, and how is it related to hormone imbalance?
Sure. So I am somebody who I'm super, super type A, and I am very much like all or nothing. So I spent the majority of my adult life and my teenage years either being on a diet or binging. Those are my two go-tos. And that's how I got into nutrition, because I just got to the point where I was like, I cannot live like this. I cannot spend the rest of my life, losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight, restricting, binging. And I loved calorie tracking. That was like my favorite. As someone who's super type A and someone who's really organized, that is like the best way for me to diet, because I can manage everything in an app. And the thing is, the last time I did it, my body was so messed up and so like completely at the point of breaking point that I was restricting and I wasn't losing any weight. because my hormones were so imbalanced and my blood sugar was all over the shop. I was eating all this processed fitness food that is just not good for you at all. I was eating tons of low fat stuff because, you know, we're sold the message that fat's really bad. And low fat stuff tends to also be full of sugar.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to make it taste all right, is if they fill it with sugar instead. So I now have kind of a bit of a stick against diet culture, and I'm not against weight loss, because when I changed my diet and I went on my nutrition journey, I lost weight, and I actually lost weight without even really trying. And it wasn't even that I lost weight, like my body changed shape. So like I'd always carried a lot of excess fat around my stomach and my abdomen. And that is such a like signal of like hormonal imbalance or having some sort of insulin problem. And I'd always carried it around there, and I'd never been able to lose that. No matter how much I restricted, no matter what I did, that always stuck around.
Yeah.
And then when I went on my nutrition journey, that like melted away, and I wasn't even trying. And I was like, oh, okay, because I stopped focusing on the weight loss and I started focusing on how I felt, like my actual body, like how I felt, because I'd spent so many years ignoring my body and ignoring all the signals it was giving me, because my only goal was weight loss, and that was it. Just to be skinny. You have to be skinny. You'll be happy if you're this skinny. You'll be happy if you're a size 8. And I've been a size 8, not any happier, trust me. So I think with hormones, like you can't, my whole thing with calorie counting is this whole message of, you got to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. You got to do this to lose weight. You know, if you eat to fit your macros, that's what you do. It completely ignores who you are as an individual.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine going to the doctor saying, I have this problem, and the doctor gets an app out and just types in your age, weight, and your date of birth, and then goes, here's the solution. You'd be like, what? No.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that we allow these like apps and stuff to dictate what we can eat, and like we think that being in a calorie deficit will help you lose weight, because at the end of the day, if you're producing too much cortisol, which you will be because your body's in deprivation mode, it's gone into fight or flight, you're basically secreting cortisol the whole time. Plus you're eating all these low calorie fitness foods that are super high in sugar and really hard for your body to digest. All you're actually doing is making it harder for your body to lose the weight, because it's just gone, no, we've got to store all this up now. Every time you eat, your body goes, nope, store this, because we don't know what's going to happen next, or when we're going to get fed next. So we've got to keep hold of this. Cortisol, our stress hormone, literally tells your body that food is scarce and that you need to store it. And it regulates your metabolism as well. So it's an appetite stimulant. So it will make you feel hungry, but it's also a metabolism, like it slows your metabolism down. So it's decreases your body's ability to metabolize food as quickly as it used to.
Okay.
Burn through calories. So actually, by doing all this restricting and being in a deficit the whole time, yes, you could lose weight short term, but the thing is, you'll probably put the weight back on again afterwards, but you'll put it on tenfold, because your body's, as soon as you start going back to your normal life, because let's be serious, calorie counting and restricting is not sustainable. It's not. I mean, I've done it. I've done the cycle so many times. As soon as you go back to eating vaguely how you used to eat, or even just reintroducing kind of treat foods like pizza or something, your body's going to go, oh my God, amazing. All this calories, we must store it because we don't know when it's going to come next. Plus we can't digest it as well as we used to. So because we've got so much cortisol going on. So I have a bit of a thing with diet culture and calorie counting.
I used to track my macros as well, years ago now, and it's super stressful. Like a lot of the time I'm just like, I don't even know, like you're putting in every single ingredient into MyFitnessPal and just spending like half an hour on that.
It is. And I think it's mental, because this whole mentality of, oh, if it fits your macros, you can eat it. That's great. I think if you don't like food, probably that works for you, because you will literally just eat. Like, oh, for breakfast, I'll just have this plain porridge. It's my macros. And for lunch, I'll just have like tuna on a rice cake because it fits my macros. If you like food and you're like me, I was like, great, I just won't eat all day because then I can go home and have a KFC. Like that was like, do you know, like that was my thing. You know, it doesn't work because unless you are somebody who doesn't really like food, you're always going to be like, oh, I'll just starve myself. I mean, I will so badly starve myself to eat something else. If I want something, I mean, not anymore, but I mean, my like favorite thing to do on a Friday would be, I would literally not eat all of Friday at work because I would go home and drink a bottle of wine and eat a KFC to myself.
Oh my God.
But that's because it's that whole mentality of treat food, and you completely ignore the way that food makes you feel, and you eat food, like you binge on it because it's a treat food. I don't eat KFC now, not because I don't want to, but because it literally makes me feel like crap and I don't want to eat it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in that restricting thing, it's like, oh, it's a treat food. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have McDonald's, you know. No, I think it's really difficult. And I think it's such like a weird arbitrary thing that's been created that doesn't take into the account of who you are as a person, as an individual at all. And also it just plays havoc with your like digestion, your hormones. I mean, you need to be eating in a way that is like bespoke and aligned to your body and what's your individual needs. So when I work with my clients, we kind of work our way along a health ladder. So we'll start off with digestive health, because you need to fix your digestion for you to be able to absorb nutrients from food. And then we'll move along and then we'll focus on adrenal health and thyroid health and blood sugar balance, because you kind of need to work in stages. And I say to them, look, you can eat as much of this food as you want to eat. There's no restriction on that. But you know, you are going to have to not drink for a couple of weeks because you need to heal yourself. Yeah. Heal your body and heal your systems. And then once you've healed, you can start reintroducing other things back into your diet. But until that happens, you need to reset your system, and you need to, you know, avoid things like coffee and sugar and stimulants and processed food. But it's not like you can never eat pizza ever again. Mm-hmm. Like I love pizza. Me too. Yeah. It's not like you can never eat it. It's more, you need to get your body back to equilibrium so that you can eat that food again, and it's not going to affect you as badly, and it's not going to have this impact on you. And it's also massively about changing your mindset around food. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, you should eat if you're hungry. That's the wildest thing I think about dieting. Like, hunger is bad. Mm. That's the weirdest thing, because if you're hungry, your body is telling you something. It's so bizarre to me now. Like now it's bizarre that you would ever be like, better ignore that, like, or just gonna suppress that, or be annoyed at yourself because you're hungry. Like, why am I so hungry? Why can't I just not eat like everyone else? You know, it's very bizarre.
Yeah. So let's talk about fats, because I've gone back to my high fats. I was going to say diet. It's not really a diet. I'm just more aware of eating like avocado. I love an avocado, so I'm good with that. And I am reducing my carbs a little bit. So fats for me for a while now have not been the enemy. I like a good fat. So yeah. But do people still think that fats are bad?
Oh, but I mean, have you been to the supermarket recently and tried to buy low-fat yogurt? It's like borderline impossible.
No, I actually look for the fatty yogurts, not the fatty yogurts, but I don't buy anything that's low fat.
Yeah, that's what I mean though. When you go to the supermarket, you try and buy a yogurt that's not low fat or not 0% fat. It's actually quite difficult because it's just everywhere. And it's like, I mean, and it's also things like, you know, we buy these rice cakes and we buy them because they're easy to eat. And so you can chuck a bit of like peanut butter on them and you can eat them. And it says on the rice cakes, low fat. And I was like, why does that matter? Like, it's the weirdest thing to put, it's rice cakes. Like, it's the weirdest thing to put low fat on. And I feel like it's really odd. Like, you'll get like granola, or like granola's like another one. And they'll put like, oh, low fat on granola. And I'm like, yeah, low fat, but full of sugar. And also it's granola. That's the weirdest thing to be like, it's low fat. Like, I think one of the biggest things I have with my clients is they cannot believe how much rubbish they are eating that they thought was healthy, because we are just sold this lie about fat's bad, eating fat makes you fat. I mean, the way your body actually works is it metabolizes carbs first, then it will burn through fat, and then it will burn through protein. So effectively, by not eating fat and eating all these low fat foods that are super high carb, you're never giving your body a chance to burn through any of the fat that you've got.
Okay.
So yeah, it's crazy how much people still think that the fat is bad thing is real. And it was just made up in the 80s by like sugar companies. And if you look at the eating fat's really unhealthy, like all the studies that were done back I think it was in the 50s, they looked at they were all based in countries that eat really high fat diets.
Oh,
so
okay.
They were like, yeah. So they're completely biased. They're completely biased. They all these studies that were done to say that eating fat is bad and it does this were all done in countries that eat these but high unhealthy fat diets, like fried food diets, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a complete marketing ploy, and I think people now, clients I have, I just can't believe all the stuff they thought. Well, I eat this because I thought that it was healthy, and I'm like, nope. Actually, it's crazy. And you need fat. It's like you need fat for your nervous system. You need fat for your brain signaling. It's so key in brain function. I mean, I actually went on a proper low fat diet once, and I gave up quite quickly with that one because I would stand up and feel like I was going to pass out. I couldn't remember things because I was basically, my brain wasn't functioning properly, and the part of the area of my brain that was needed for memory wasn't working properly because I wasn't eating any fat. It's also so key for keeping you satiated. Like you need fat to stay full. It's one of the main things that keeps you full. It's just, it's crazy that people still don't think.
So what should we be looking for? So you've already said whole foods, healthy fats, and what else? Like, what does your day-to-day diet look like?
Sure. So I eat quite a high fiber diet. Like I say, high fiber. We eat organic animal products. That's the main thing. I eat, if I do want to have like a chocolate or a cookie or something, and the thing is, I'm somebody who I'm not giving that up. Like I love that stuff. I'm not giving it up. But I eat things that are made with coconut sugar. Okay. Or maple syrup. Maple syrup is another one. Maple syrup is full of so many amazing minerals like zinc and stuff that are good for you. Yeah. And so there's something called the glycemic index, and the way you measure blood sugar, the way the food will spike your blood sugar is based on this glycemic index. So what you want to do is you want to eat foods that are low on the glycemic index, carbs that are low on the glycemic index, because they won't spike your blood sugar. So those are things like maple syrup and coconut sugar. So I bake a lot of cookies and that kind of stuff myself. And then I'll have, for breakfast, I normally have like gluten-free toast with some avocado and an egg. And then maybe for lunch, I'll have like brown rice pasta, because brown rice pasta is the only pasta I found that mimics normal wheat pasta in the same kind of, it tastes the most similar.
Okay.
Brown rice pasta, maybe with like some avocado oil and then some olives, and then I'll put a protein in there as well. It's like a pasta salad. And then for dinner, do you know what? We are pretty we eat, it's wild how much you think that you can't eat if you switch to whole food diets, but it's not. We eat pretty much the same stuff we always have eaten. It's just that the ingredients are different. That's all it is. So like yesterday, I had chili for dinner yesterday. It was just chili made with, I made sure that the can of tomatoes I had was literally just tomatoes, and it wasn't tomatoes plus thickener, plus sugar, plus, so yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, that's day to day what we normally eat. But every meal I eat, I try to have a healthy fat, a protein, and then a complex carb. So a carbohydrate that's got fiber in it as well. That will keep your blood sugar balanced, and that will also keep you satiated for so much longer.
Okay, that's interesting. Whilst you were talking, I was thinking about something. Now it's completely gone out of my head.
I hate that. That's I always do that.
Okay, so let's talk about blood sugar. And I know you've mentioned in one of your posts that blood sugar is like one of the things that triggers stress, anxiety, and mood.
Yeah.
So is this something that we should be checking regularly?
I don't think you need to check it necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just something that you should be aware of, and you should really aim to keep your blood sugar balanced, because that is going to be the thing that stops you from getting hungry. It's the thing that stops your body going into stress mode. So it's not something you necessarily need to check. So I think when you say blood sugar, people are straight away like diabetes.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
And it's not. It's like, actually, it's just about keeping your blood sugar balanced in general, because that's what you should be doing. Because we do consume these really high sugar diets, that we eat a lot of simple carbohydrates. So simple carb effectively just means that your body metabolizes it super quickly and it spikes your blood sugar. So there's no fiber in the carb to keep your blood sugar balanced. So we eat these really high sugar diets, but it is just being aware of what you're eating. You know, like fruit, for example, you don't have to, fruit, yes, it's got sugar in it, but it's also sugar. But if you pair it with a healthy fat, it's going to keep your blood sugar satiated, blood sugar balanced. So yeah, it's not something necessarily to check. It's just something you need to be very aware of, I would say, because it massively impacts your mood. And it's, you know, if you're somebody who eats and then gets hungry like immediately afterwards, or like you'll eat something and then half an hour later you'll be like, oh my God, I'm starving hungry, which is me. I used to be obsessed with food because I was just always hungry.
Yeah.
That is something that I would then start looking at your blood sugar, and I would say, you know, is that maybe because you're eating high sugar diet, or you're spiking your blood sugar a lot, or you just have a blood sugar imbalance? Also things like if when you get hungry, you get like hanger is such like a key indicator. I used to be the hangriest person. Again, most patient boyfriend, super understanding, nice bloke, because even now I'm like, I used to be really horrible, and like, you just put up with it. And he was like, well, it's just one of those. Like, but even he's like, your mood and stuff now is just so different. So yeah, if you get hangry frequently, that is such a key indicator there's something wrong with your blood sugar. Again, like if you get shaky or anxious or irritable if you don't eat, then I would say that's something to do with your blood sugar, and that you should look at eating foods that will keep your blood sugar balanced. And then, yeah, if you get hungry really quickly after eating, that's another key indicator.
Yeah. Okay. I remembered what I was going to ask you now.
Sure.
In baking, because every time I think of like sweet treats or cakes or whatever, I just think it's bad stuff. And like from what you're saying with all the sugar stuff, are there any like alternatives? You mentioned coconut sugar, which I've never used before. Are there any others that you could use in baking that don't necessarily affect you as badly as, you know, like cane sugar or whatever?
Yeah, so I only ever use maple syrup and coconut sugar, basically. Because coconut sugar is like the granulated sugar that I can use, and then maple syrup is the liquid. Raw organic honey, that's also got really good, if you get the proper pure raw organic honey, that's really good for your digestion as well. That's got lots of probiotic stuff in it, which is really good. But I think with baking, like, just find some recipes that work. It really doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like I don't use normal flour. We use almond flour. We use oat flour. I mean, we've got so many flours downstairs. Every time the Amazon packages turn up, he's like, we don't need any more baking stuff. Like, stop it. So that, I mean, it's not just the sugar in it. It's all the other, you know, the wheat flour that people normally use, that's going to spike your blood sugar. But yeah, with baking, I think it's just find some recipes that work for you. Some of the things the recipes that I think are really good is there's she is someone on Instagram that I found. Her name is Sarah Adler, and she's got a cookbook called Simply Real Health. That's like my favorite cookbook. It's just all whole food ingredients, but like really good food. Like we make the smoked salmon pasta from that cookbook every week now, and it's got a cashew Alfredo sauce, so you don't use the dairy. And I was like, that's going to taste bad. I literally was like, that's going to be so weird, don't think it's going to be good. And then we made it, and I was like, this is actually a million times better. She's really good. And then Kristen Cavallari, who is someone I know from reality TV, because I've got a bit of a reality TV addiction.
Okay.
But she eats gluten-free, dairy-free and refined sugar-free, and she's got 2 cookbooks, and hers are also really good. Her like baking recipes are really good. Like I make her carrot cake cupcakes all the time. And the thing is with healthy baking is, well, like it's not even healthy when it is healthy. You can have it for like breakfast, like, and it's fine. Like, yeah. If like the carrot cake cupcakes that we make, I literally have them for breakfast because I'm like, yeah, this is good because it's full of like really good healthy fats, like almond flour.
Yeah.
It's got some good protein in it from the eggs and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just find the recipes that work for you and like just try them and keep trying recipes, and you will eventually kind of figure out the ones that do and don't work. Like I have made some stuff where I've been like, no, that was not good. But honestly, like you can't taste the difference.
Yeah.
And the way you feel afterwards is like a million times better as well. But you know, when you eat a really sugary cupcake and you kind of almost feel like really sick afterwards and you feel really like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that feeling, which is actually really nice. And it's more like I think with like the healthier treats, I don't really like saying healthy because it makes them sound boring. They're not boring. But with the healthier treats, it's like they satisfy you a lot more. Like you can have one and go, cool, okay, I've had one, that's nice. So yeah. I think coconut sugar and maple syrup, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look that up. But how do you feel about dairy as well then?
So I can't make the switch to non-dairy in my coffee and in my tea. I can't. I've tried. It's not the same. You've got to have milk, but we have whole organic milk because it's not been through a process. It's not been, again, I'm actually super lucky. I don't like cheese. I feel like that's been my saving grace. Oh my God, because I feel like I love food so much that if I liked cheese, that would be my downfall because I feel
I love like cheese.
Yeah, see, I am super lucky that I don't like cheese because it honestly tastes like farts to me. I don't understand how anyone eats cheese.
So what do I do now? What do I do about my cheese addiction?
Again, same thing. The ingredients in cheese should just be milk. Like that should be the ingredient in your cheese. Organic cheese when you can. And I think the thing is as well is that I don't want people to sit here and think that I'm preaching organic. You can only eat organic. That's all you can ever eat, because that, again, not possible. But I think it's just like organic where possible, because I'm super about like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, because like good is good enough.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
When I first went on this nutrition journey, I said to my other half, I was like, that's it. Everything we buy has to be organic. And I mean, I was buying not organic lettuce, organic this, organic that. And do you know what? We can't afford it. We can't. It's not, I can't sit here and be like, I bought organic apples, I bought this. So 9 times out of 10, we buy organic meat and we buy organic animal products, but it's the same thing. Like if I go out to eat, I can't get that. So I'm not going to not go out to eat because I can't eat organic. Doesn't make sense. And with fish as well, like, yes, ideally I would buy wild fish all the time, but it's really hard to get hold of certain fish that's wild, like prawns. It's like, you can't really buy that thing. And I love prawns. So I'm going to eat prawns. But yeah, I think it's definitely about like, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Like you need to do your best. And that's because as well, if you obsess about, and as somebody who's super obsessive and super type A, it actually just makes you more stressed. So you need to kind of be, a bit more like lenient with yourself. But yeah.
Okay. So what about your recipe books? What can we expect to find in there and where can we get them?
So if you go onto my Instagram, there's a link in my bio and you can download my free dessert recipe book. And then every week I send out free recipes on a Friday. So honestly, it completely depends on what I've kind of been dealing with that week. So if I've had a lot of clients come to me with a certain issue, that will kind of give me inspiration for something. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm going to do recipes this week that will focus on this. So for example, last week, it was a day of eating cortisol management. So it was like breakfast, lunch and dinner and a dessert and snacks for the whole day. To eat for cortisol management. And the week before that was blood sugar. And then the week before that was like really cozy autumn breakfasts, because I'm such a smoothie girl. But you can't have smoothies now in winter in the UK. It's not an option. Like, yeah. So I was like, now I've got like some really cozy recipes that I make. So it's really nice, like hot chia pudding with apples and pecans.
Oh, that sounds nice.
And then you put nut butter on it and a bit of maple syrup, and it's so good. And then I also make this really good like hot chocolate drink. So it's cacao but I put protein powder in it. That's the thing. Like I still have like fitness foods. I just have like good quality fitness foods.
Yeah.
So I put like protein powder in it and some cinnamon and some turmeric and some coconut oil. And because I could just put coconut oil in literally everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, and more coconut oil. And I blend that up. That's really good. So yeah, it kind of changes with whatever I've been dealing with that week and whatever kind of gives me inspiration. But it is normally, they're all dairy free. They're always all dairy free. They're gluten free. They're non-inflammatory. And 9 times out of 10, I try to make them vegetarian. Sometimes there's some fish in there. But yeah, it's kind of whatever vibe I have that week, basically, is what determines it. But you get a full shopping list, and it basically will tell you the exact proportions of things you need to buy. So you don't even need to waste money like buying excess things. There's nothing worse than when a recipe is like, you need to buy this one ingredient, and then you're like, oh, but I've bought 6 cans of it, and you're like, oh, well, sorry. So it's got exact proportions, but it's all blood sugar balancing. It's all about hormonal support, tons of healthy fats, tons of fiber, balanced meals. And I think like the main thing for me is just showing people how much they can eat. Like food is not the enemy. Like you deserve to eat, like you should eat. It's not about, sitting there feeling starving hungry because you haven't got enough calories left. And I want to show people how much food you actually can eat.
Yeah, good, because I like food.
I love food. I literally love food.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I love food. Like, it's not my problem. But yeah, I love food. I grew up in such a foodie household that I literally, love food.
Yeah.
Sure. My mum is a feeder, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So I always finish off my interviews with what I call top three. So it's just 3 questions, top 3. So the first one is top 3 nutritious foods to eat regularly for hormone balance.
Sure. Chia seeds, they're full of fiber, they're high fat, they're just super good. I feel like chia seeds in anything make it better. Like you can put them on a salad, you can put them on a smoothie. And then fish in like high fat fish. So like a salmon is really good because it's full of omega-3s. And then also nut butter. Like if you can get a good clean nut butter, that will just change your life because it's high protein, high fat. Just read the ingredients. The ingredients in a nut butter should be nuts. That should be the ingredients. Like, that sounds mental when you say it aloud, but you would just you can't believe like what they put into this stuff. A really good nut butter, because honestly, sometimes if I'm hungry but I'm in a rush, I will just have a tablespoon of nut butter. And I'll just be like, that's good. Because if I'm like, oh, I've got to run out the door and do this thing, I'll just have a tablespoon of almond butter, or I'll just cake and be like, okay, cool, let's go. And I know that will keep it's not going to keep me satiated for hours of rice cake and nut butter, but it's going to do the trick. So and it's just full of really good healthy fats that are going to work wonders for your hormones, basically. Yeah, hormones, fiber and fat, always.
Okay. And then top 3 recipes in your books.
Sure. So the one that I'm doing at the moment that I'm obsessed with is my morning coffee. So I call it like my blood sugar balancing coffee, because it is basically being able to have the caffeine without getting those shakes, without having that weird caffeinated feeling, and it's going to keep your blood sugar balanced. So that's definitely it's like a little mini meal in a coffee, which is great. And that's also really good, like before, if you want to work out, but you don't want to feel really like and heavy before your workout, it's a really good one to have.
What is it like? Sorry, is it like the bulletproof coffee? Because I know a lot of people.
Kind of, yeah. So it's, I use instant coffee because I'm lazy. So it's organic instant coffee. Coffee is something that I'm pretty strict on about being organic, just because it has one of the highest levels of preservatives and toxins in it. Also, it really contributes to like the unethical work standards around the world, like non-organic fair trade coffee. So I'm super on like organic fair trade coffee. So I have instant because I'm lazy. Also I'm tired in the morning. And then, so tablespoon of instant coffee, tablespoon of coconut oil, and then a tablespoon of collagen. And then I put some cinnamon, and then I do a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon, quarter teaspoon of cacao powder. And then I do a cup of boiling water and half a cup of milk. And then I blend it all up, and it's just so creamy and like delicious. It's really like rich. And the cinnamon's really good for keeping your blood sugar balanced as well. The cacao's got loads of great ingredients in it and minerals like magnesium.
Yeah.
And you've got a healthy fat and the protein from the collagen and the coconut oil. And coconut oil is great for your brain function. It's got these things called NCTs in it, and it's just really good for your brain function. So yeah, so that's definitely one of my top in my recipe books. The other one has got to be, I know I've already mentioned it, but the apple pecan chia pudding, because it's just like, it's so autumny, like it's the epitome of autumn basically. And then there's a really good one, like a saffron spiced monkfish with sweet potato coconut bites, and it's like sweet potato breaded in coconut. Oh, so good.
That sounds delicious.
So good. But yeah, see, you can eat all this food.
What in your coffee you said collagen. Where do you get that from?
So I use a company called Planet Paleo. They're the people that I get my protein from. They're the people that I get my collagen from. They do pure organic. It's grass-fed as well, because with dairy products or cow products or pork or something, you want to get 100% grass-fed where you can, because that's what they were supposed to eat. Because they're not supposed to sit and eat loads of grains, because it affects the animal product. So they do grass-fed and organic products, basically. So I get all of mine from this called Planet Paleo, and I'm vaguely obsessed with them.
Okay.
And they also have, if you're too lazy to make the coffee that I just talked about, because I can understand why you are, then they have a really good, it's called keto coffee. I have a bit of an issue with the name, but it's called keto coffee, and it's effectively what I just spoke about, but just in a powder that you just whack in with boiling water and milk.
No way. That's a bit of me, I think.
So, and it's got like, I think it's flavored with like cardamom and vanilla. It's really good. And so I always have a pot of it in the cupboard, because like some mornings I'm just like, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
This ritual that I normally do.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that's, they're really, really good. I think it was the same, just finds good quality stuff. That's what you've got to do.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last one is top 3 self-care tips or activities for looking after your hormone and stress levels.
Sure. So deep belly breathing is like my favorite. This is something that I started doing when I first developed my anxiety disorder, because I Googled it. And I basically, all you have to do is you need to hold your hands on your stomach and breathe in through your nose for 6. And you literally need to feel your stomach expanding with the air, because normally when you breathe, your chest rises and falls. You're actually breathing, your stomach rises and falls. Breathe in for 6, hold for 2, and then breathe out for 6 through your mouth. I do that all the time. If I feel stressed, even if I feel like a headache coming on, I do it and it makes me feel better. So yeah, deep belly breathing. Going for a walk is like, gentle movement. Don't over exercise. I spent years over exercising, and it only hinders your performance, or like it only hinders your results. Like gentle movement, no killing yourself at the gym for hours on end. No killing yourself in really intense HIIT classes. And then also I would say meditation. And meditation doesn't have to be sitting for half an hour, thinking blankly into space. There are some really good meditation apps. I'll do it for like 5 minutes. Literally, I'll just do it for 5 minutes, because again, I don't have the attention span to do it for half an hour sitting there super zen. I'm not that person. But it's such a good way to like clear your head. And guided meditations I find are really helpful, because you've got someone talking to you the whole time, and you've got someone effectively telling you what to think about and telling you what to do, which I need, because otherwise my brain just like goes. I'm like, next thing I know, I'm thinking about like the Ocado order, and I'm like, oh, okay, what am I going to order? So yeah, but yeah, deep belly breathing, gentle movement, don't over exercise, and meditation.
Okay,
for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
I've loved it. I feel like I have more questions, but we're running out of time.
I'm glad it was like informative.
Yeah,
good.
very.
I'm super glad. Oh, that's good. If you have any more questions, just message me.
Yeah, I probably will message you after this anyway. But how can people get hold of you after this podcast?
So you can find me on Instagram. That's the best way to get hold of me. And then, so it's flourish and then _with_Chelsea. And it's Chelsea with an A on the end. So spelled like the football team.
Yeah.
The English spelling. So yeah, if you find me there, you can either DM me on Instagram. That's basically how I deal with most of my clients or find my clients. Or if you want, you can email me and it's hello@flourishwithchelsea.com.
Okay.
And that's how you can find me. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me. Oh, I'm glad. Thanks.
Yeah. And I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications on new episodes every Wednesday.